Hello guys, and welcome to a tool review video. I have this CReader 3001 scan tool here. It's a code reader slash live data tool, and it's pretty neat. I got it for 25 bucks. That's probably the introductory price, but either way it's still a pretty good price if you want to pick one up. So we're going to go over this, like what it does, all the features that it has, and I'm going to be plugging it into a 2017 car as well as a 1997 car, so that should give you some sort of idea as to what it can do on whatever car you're using it on. So I know it looks really freaking huge, like it's almost as big as my body, but really it's actually very small. It's smaller than my cell phone in the way of length by width, but it's pretty thick, so but it's very small. The cord is also very small and tiny and short, so you probably can't sit in the back seat and use this, but you can definitely sit in the front seat and use it, which is probably where you're going to sit anyway. But if you want to sit on the back porch and have this plugged into your car, the cord is probably going to be too small, so you want to get something a bit longer. So without further ado, let us plug this in and see what's going on. Okay, we got the code reader plugged in, and we can see here is our first menu. Before we get into all that stuff, I just want to show you here the scan tool has no USB ports or anything like that. So I gather that it is not updatable. There will be no patches for this 3001 CReader. So the way you get it is the way it's going to be. So on newer cars above whenever this tool was made, which who knows when that was, but you may be out of luck on what it can do. You're just kind of stuck with the way it is. Some of the CReaders do have a USB port here on the bottom so that you can update them and patches, and it's all free through the launch website. This one does not have that, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and see what it can do. Okay, before we get into all the goodies, let's just go to tool setup here and see what we can change. We can change the language and the unit of measure. So we'll change the unit of measure since we're in America. There we go. Metric or imperial. So I guess I'm an imperialistic person, so I will put it on imperial. Okay. Now let's go look at the good stuff. So we're hooked up to the 2017 Honda right now. Let's go to Diagnose and see what we can look at. Alright, so DTC's 0, readiness, okay, 8, incomplete, 0, not applicable readiness monitors, 2, so that's good. So if you're using this to get a state inspection and you have just had your check engine light cleared or your battery disconnected, this will tell you if you are ready to go on your state inspection. So let's go ahead and go down to the readiness status, and we'll actually look at all of them. Since the DTC was cleared, we'll check that. So we can see all those that it showed us that were ready. We had 8 that were ready, so we have misfire, fuel system, comp component, okay, whatever, catalyst monitor, heated catalyst not applicable, etc., etc. So this would tell me right now that this car would be ready for state inspection if that was what my intent and sole purpose was. But that's not what our purpose is today, so let's look at codes reading. Let's see. This vehicle has no fault codes. It's a good thing. And the most important part, in my opinion, is the data available for viewing. So let's look and see what we have on a 2017. So we have, you can see here, 34 different data PIDs that we can look at. So we're looking at 4 at a time, and this is essentially live. You can see the switching isn't super fast, but it's live enough for what we're doing here. So fuel system, we're in closed loop, as it says. Fuel system 2, we're in 3 dashes. See that? We're in 3 dashes there on closed loop. Fuel system 2 shenanigans. load percentage. I really don't like the abbreviations that they're using here. I don't know if it's just the Chinese to English translation, or just because the screen is really small. Like, the screen is the size of the knuckle to the end of my thumb. So it's probably just the size of the screen. Load percentage, we're around 30. Okay, that's good. So short term, fuel trim, bank 1. So this is a 4-cylinder, so we're only going to have one bank. So that number is going to matter to us right now. Bank 2 doesn't exist, but let's see if it shows it. So, okay, it's not there. So we have long-term fuel trim, bank 1. We're at a 6.3% on the rich side. Oh, data stream. Come back to me, data stream. Alright, short-term fuel trim, bank 1. We're hovering around 0.8 to 1.6% on the rich side. Okay, that's all good to know. Data stream, come back. So the buttons here we have are the OK, the up and down, and then the return. I keep hitting the return instead of the up and down. That's why it keeps going back here. So that's my bad. That's not the tool's bad. That's my bad. So let's go down. So we've got a map reading. We have RPM. Let's see if that'll change. Alright, vehicle speed sensor there. We're at 0 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. I might want to slow down. Let's see. Spark advance, -2 degrees. TP is throttle position. So we have a O2 sensor 1, 2. So that would be bank 1, sensor 2. We're at 0.7 volts. So if we were diagnosing a catalytic converter, then we would look at the sensor 2, O2 sensor, for whatever bank we were trying to diagnose. This is only a 4-cylinder, so it's only one bank. So we're looking at sensor 2, bank 1. And you need a steady throttle. And a voltage that is not switching from rich to lean. And we can see here we're pretty steady. You really want to have the throttle. You really want to be driving when you're testing that, but we're just looking at the scan tool. We're not trying to diagnose anything. So short term, fuel trim, bank 1, sensor 2, 99.2%, 1%, 99.2%. Yeah, I'm not really sure how this number is calculated. It's pretty much useless to us at this point. There we go, 1.6% negative. Let's go down, shall we? OBD sup. So OBD sup is OBD2. This is a very pointless data PID right here. When we're trying to diagnose a car, it's plugged in. We know it's OBD2. This really could just not exist here, and that would be great. So runtime. This should be runtime on this current drive cycle, 1145 seconds. The mil distance. So this could be the distance that you've driven with the mil on, and because this check engine light's never been on in this car, so this would be the distance that you've driven with a check engine light on. So if there's something that you wanted to know, how long it's been since your check engine light came on, there you have it right there. FRP is fuel rail pressure. This one's not going to be available on a lot of older cars. This is relatively new in the grand scheme of timelines and flux capacitors and things like that. So this car actually has a fuel rail pressure sensor, whereas the next car we look at will not. So this will not even exist on the next car that we scan. So let's go down here and see we have a lambda. So this is a lambda voltage. This is a Honda, so they use air-fuel ratio sensors, as they call them, rather than O2 sensors on the upstream. So that's what that is. This is the voltage for that. O2 sensor, bank 1, sensor 1. So this actually lambda's the percent, and this O2 sensor is a voltage. So I correct myself on that. This is the percent on the lambda. This is essentially the air-fuel ratio, and what we're looking for here is around 1. So right here, where you can see we're hovering right around 1% or 1 unit of measure. And then this is the voltage, in case you need to know that. The evap percentage on the third line down, this is going to be measuring the percentage of purge, I believe, for the evap. So right now we're at 23.5. FLI, I don't know. I'm not sure what that one is. FLI. Yeah, these abbreviations sometimes don't really, I'd really have to think about that one. So let's move on to the next one. Warm-ups. So the number of warm-ups, 255. I'm assuming since the check engine light was cleared or something along those lines. The check engine light's never been cleared on this, so but there's the mileage, 3,835 miles, which is interesting because this check engine light's never been cleared. And we're at 4,267 miles. So, anyway, vapor pressure. So this is measured in H2O or mercury or whatever. So this is going to be vapor pressure should be the fuel tank pressure. I can't imagine what else it would be. It could be the map pressure, unless we have a separate map reading, which would be the manifold absolute pressure reading. But VP should mean vapor pressure, which would be the fuel tank pressure. So if you're diagnosing evap leaks, barometric pressure, 29 inches of mercury. So that says measured in water, in H2O. That's measured in mercury. Catalyst temperature, 900 degrees. Voltage power, that seems kind of redundant. Voltage power. So alternator's putting out 14.5 volts. ABS load, lambda again, still around 1, which is good. Throttle position, where we're at, throttle position sensor B, 13.3%. APP would be accelerator position, and it's got D&E, so it's whatever the two sensors on the accelerator position. D&E, there's your percent, fuel type, gas, as opposed to methanol, hydrogen, water, or plutonium. So that way we know what to put in here. It's gas. And we're here at the last two. We have the short-term SO2 FT1, and long-term FT1, O2 fuel trim. So short-term O2 fuel trim, long-term O2 fuel trim. Okay, or something along those lines. These abbreviations I'm really not crazy about. I want to say it's probably mostly the way China decides to translate things to English, maybe, in ways that we can understand them. Maybe it's just the size of the screen. Anyway, let's go back and see what our other options are. Freeze frame would be if you had a check engine light and you could see what kind of data was stored when the check engine light was triggered. This one doesn't have a check engine light, so we can move away from that. O2 sensor test. This is a brand new car. Any test available that this tool can do should work on this car. But guess what? This vehicle does not support. Yeah, well, I don't think it's the vehicle that doesn't support. I think it's the CReader that does not support. But realistically, when we're looking at O2 sensors, we want to see voltages, and that's covered on the data stream. So I'm not really worried about this, and not even sure why this is on here. I would like to actually see it work on some sort of vehicle, but anyway. Onboard monitoring. See what we got there. So all this stuff is useful, but this is what I like to see. So we can actually look at misfires. So when diagnosing cars, the most common thing that you're looking at on drivability issues, check engine lights, and we'll just not include evap codes, but normal drivability and check engine light codes, we use fuel trim and misfires. Very super common. So it's going to tell us here if we're having any sort of misfires. So the value here, we're at 0 count, minimum, since this is probably this drive cycle. So 0, maximum 65,000, I guess is the maximum that it counts. I don't know, but either way we can see that we have no misfires, so that's a good thing. And we can check that for each of the 4 cylinders, which would be great in trying to diagnose a misfire. Purge flow monitor for evap system, so that's pretty cool. So it tell us min 10% purge, 100% on the max value right now, 100%. Status pass, so that could be handy. Evap monitors here, variable valve timing monitor, and that's about it there. So there's the evap system, which supposedly will test your evap system, which this car will do. This tool will not do it. Not supported. But yet, it's there, but it's not supported. Vehicle information, in case you want to know what your VIN number is, there it is. Because that's super handy. Handy dandy. So when you're calling to add this car to insurance, you just have to tell them to hold on so you can pull out your CReader. So I don't want to exit there. You can look for your DTCs. So you can type in a DTC here. It'll give you some sort of definition. And tool setup again here. Yeah, we're going to leave that alone. So that's really about all there is to it. I would like to see more data PIDs on such a brand new car, but we're going to compare it to the old car and see what kind of data PIDs we have on that. But realistically, what you're looking for is something that reads codes and has some sort of data available. This does it, and for right now at least, the price was $25. I don't think I would pay more than $30 to $40 for this. For one, because it's not updatable, and for two, it's the competition is really high for tools like this, and there's just really no point in paying more than that for something like this. It's not bidirectional. It doesn't do a lot of things. It gives you all generic OBD2 stuff. So no ABS, no airbag, no body modules, no HVAC module, nothing like that. Straight generic OBD2, which is fine, but so we don't want to overpay for that, is all I'm trying to say with that. So with all that being said, let us move over to the 1997 and see what kind of differences we have there. Alright kids, so we are back, and now we are in a very old Chevy. And if we're looking at it here, data stream count 29. So I think we had, what, 34 on the 2017. This one we're looking at 29. So I'm going to go through this real quick to try and make this video not quite as long as it already is. And all we're going to do is we're going to look at what kind of data stream values that we have, what kind of data PIDs. Fuel system 1, open loop. Fuel system 2, load percentage. So all those we had on the 2017. The ECT we did not have. That's the coolant temperature. So that's interesting that we didn't have it on the new car, but we have that on the old car. Looking at fuel trim here again, that's very handy that we have that on this very old car. We have the map sensor there measured in mercury, 10.5 inches, RPM, vehicle speed sensor, so all that's the same. Spark advance, the same. Intake air temperature, we did not have that on the 2017. The MAF, I don't think we had that on the 2017, did we? So this is pounds per minute. So this is the volume of the mass airflow sensor measured in pounds per minute. Throttle position 0%. On the other one we had accelerator position as well, but this car has a throttle cable, and the new car is electronic throttle, so it will not have those. O2 sensor, bank 1, sensor 1. Short-term fuel trim, bank 1, sensor 1. O2 sensor, voltage, bank 1, sensor 2. Short-term fuel trim, O2 sensor again. So we have a lot of O2 data. Once again, we have this OBD sup. So this 25 data PIDs, we can really just say 24 because that's essentially pointless. And then PTO stat. PTO stat. PTO stat. I don't know what that means. Paid time off, statistics. Yeah, so don't know about that one. But let's look at let's see if we have misfire data, because that's important as well. I think mode 6 is usually misfire data. Let's see what we have here. Yes, this doesn't really tell me anything. So we don't have essentially like a live misfire. Oh, test 7 failed. So we need to find out what mode 7 is, because I'm kind of concerned now that I failed that. I guess I didn't study hard enough. And mode 4, passed, min max, etc., etc. So I'm not thrilled with the non-misfire status here. EVAP system, let's see what we have. Not supported, surprise. Not cool. And just for S&Gs, let's look at O2 sensor test. Oh, wow. Okay. Do with that what you will. No, it does not support. Okay, let's wrap this up. So there you have it, the CReader 3001. Very handy little device with a very short cord. So driver's seat use only, no back porch use, no passenger seat use. Pretty neat little tool though, especially for 25 bucks, even up to I'd say about $40. If they raise the price over 40, I'd say you might want to look at something else. CReader has a few different ones launch that are maybe have a slight edge over this one, especially the ones like the 6001 that is updatable and patchable. This one you're just kind of stuck with what you get, which, assuming there is no problems with it, you wouldn't really necessarily need to patch it or update it, other than the fact that it might support newer cars in the future if it was updatable. Since this is not, it pretty much is what it is. But if you're looking for a cheap code reader slash data viewer, this would be a good option. It's definitely not the end all or be all of automotive diagnosis, but for DIY stuff and random code checking and misfire monitoring and fuel trim and stuff like that, this is really about all you need. So hopefully, if you are on the fence about this little code reader, this should answer all the questions that you have. It's really not a waste of money in any means. If it's only $25, you really can't go wrong. It does what it says it does. It's small, it's super lightweight, and very, very inexpensive. So very cool. Thank you.